Hello, sports fans. It is Wednesday, February the 3rd, the year 2016, and we're going to skip around a little bit today in the sports world, and we're going to start with the Super Bowl. I personally cannot take any more of the Super Bowl hype. I don't need 2 weeks to get to the Super Bowl. To me, the Super Bowl should have been played last Sunday. A week is fine for me. I don't need 2 weeks of nonstop hype and nonsense about the Super Bowl. I can't take any more of it. I really can't. How many stories about Peyton Manning are we going to hear? How many dumb questions are we going to hear from the media? How many stories about Cam Newton and how they're going to make him out to be the villain in this Super Bowl? First of all, I thought Carolina was a great story this year. I thought Cam Newton was a great story this year. I had no problem with Carolina this year at all. They lost one game. They came to play each and every week, and they beat every team on their schedule. They lost one game to Atlanta, who they also blew out 38-0, so there was no team on Carolina's schedule that they didn't beat. They came to play every week. Why all this negative stuff about Carolina now? Why all these negative stories about Cam Newton? Cam Newton has had an MVP year. He's had an unbelievable year. And what? We're mad because Cam Newton is celebrating after touchdowns and giving little kids the ball after he scores? Now all of a sudden we have a problem with that? Every player in the league celebrates. I mean, there's players that are down 28-0 in the game that'll score a touchdown and they'll do a little jig and, a little boogie in the end zone down 28-0. I have a problem with that. I have no problem with what Cam Newton did this year. So he scored a touchdown, he did his little thing, and he gave the ball to a fan. I had no problem with that at all. Never bothered me at all during the year. Now all I'm hearing is, Cam Newton's the villain of this Super Bowl. He's unlikable, he shows off, he does this. Please, enough. Enough. Cam Newton had a great year this year. There is nothing not to like about Cam Newton in Carolina. There is nothing not to like about him. They're a very likable team. They're fresh. They're new. Cam Newton has been a winner since he played at Auburn. I mean, I don't understand all this negative stuff. I really don't get it. And the 2 weeks of the hype and the Peyton Manning questions. Peyton Manning, is this going to be your last game? Peyton Manning, is this going to be your last game? Peyton Manning, is this going to be your last game? I can't take any more of it. The Super Bowl, to me, this is the problem with the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is not for the hardcore football fan like you and me. The Super Bowl is for the people that parachute in once a year, that don't watch football all year. They parachute in and have their Super Bowl parties, and they want to see the halftime show, and they want to see the commercials, and they want to see who's singing, the national anthem, and all that kind of stuff. That is not for the hardcore football fan. We don't need the halftime show. We don't need the 2 weeks of hype. We don't need the commercials. And by the way, the commercials are not as funny as they used to be. Way back when they had some funny commercials. Now I feel like they're a little stale. Like, they're just not funny anymore. I could do without the commercials. I could do without all that stuff. I want to see the game. That's why, to me, I don't need 2 weeks of Super Bowl hype. I can't take it anymore. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. They have the teams flying in now a week early. The teams are at the Super Bowl sites a week early, and all they're doing is answering questions. I mean, I flipped around ESPN the other day. They must have had 2,000 cameras and reporters around Peyton Manning. Enough already. Kick off the game and let's play some football. I mean, I can't take any more of this. 2 weeks of this nonsense. Kick the game off. They even make a big deal about the coin toss now. I can't take it. I mean, enough is enough. We don't need 2 weeks of this. 1 week is plenty. I mean, my goodness, and the stories, I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. Then they try and, put the Pro Bowl on the off week this year. So you had the Pro Bowl last week in Hawaii, which is also unwatchable football. I'm sorry, and I love football, and I love all sports. I can't get into the Pro Bowl. They actually had a show last week where Michael Irvin and I think it was Jerry Rice, who were the two captains or coaches of the Pro Bowl, were actually conducting a draft and picking the players for the Pro Bowl in Hawaii. They actually had a show on it, on ESPN. I couldn't believe it. First of all, there's no players from Carolina or Denver in the Pro Bowl. I mean, so some of the best players are not even in the Pro Bowl. Then a lot of guys don't even show up for the Pro Bowl. So you're not getting the true, genuine, best players. No one wants to get hurt in the Pro Bowl, so it's not real football. They actually had a draft for this. I mean, Michael Irvin and I believe it was Jerry Rice, who were the two coaches or captains, they actually conducted a draft on ESPN picking the Pro Bowl squad. Unwatchable. To me, the Pro Bowl is a waste of time. I don't like any All-Star game. I don't like any of them. I don't like the Pro Bowl. I don't like the NHL All-Star game, which was also this past Sunday. They've changed that format a million times. Can't watch that. Well, the NHL skills competition. Can't get into the NBA All-Star game anymore. I mean, there's no defense. You can't watch that. The Major League Baseball All-Star game, they've made a complete mockery of, considering they have home field advantage based on who wins an exhibition game. I mean, what is baseball thinking? I mean, let's have home field determined by an all-star game. I mean, how mindless was that? I can't get into home run derby. I don't get into any of these all-star games. They're exhibitions. And I certainly can't get into the Pro Bowl. I mean, no one wants to get hurt. No one wants to hit each other. It's ridiculous. You don't have the best players out there. You don't have, anyone from Carolina. You don't have anyone from Denver. They play it now the week before the Super Bowl in Hawaii. I mean, it's totally mindless. So I cannot take any more of this. Let's get to the game already. And as far as the game, I haven't found one person that has picked Denver yet. I mean, I haven't found one person that thinks Denver can actually win this game. I think Carolina's going to win myself. I do think, the game could be closer than most people think. I think 6 points, I think Denver can hang around in this game. They do have one of the best defenses in football. I think Carolina's going to win, but I think it's going to be closer than most people think. Everyone thinks Carolina is just going to destroy Denver. No one is giving Denver any chance. I think it's going to be like 2 years ago when Seattle rolled over Denver. I mean, I would hate to see that. The last thing you want is a blowout Super Bowl. I mean, that is the last thing you want. I mean, with no drama. You want to have at least a close game. So I have not found one person that has picked Denver to win this game. So everyone thinks Carolina is going to win. But the 2 weeks, I mean, enough is enough. Kick the game off already. I cannot take it. It's just too much. We're just sitting here dying for the game to start at this point. I mean, day after day, the interviews, the stories, the questions. This one's a villain, that one's a villain, this one isn't a villain. Peyton Manning's likable, Cam Newton isn't. I mean, give me a break. I mean, come on. Personally, I'm tired of Peyton Manning. I hope this is Peyton Manning's last year, win or lose. I do not want to see Peyton Manning back next year, and I certainly don't want to see him on another team. There were rumors that, if he doesn't go back to Denver, he might go to another team. Please, we don't want to see that. To me, I hope this is the end for Peyton Manning. I'm Peyton Manninged out. I'm sorry. And he'll do a nice job as a broadcaster. He's got a dry sense of humor. He'll be great up in the booth. I mean, that's where he should go now. He does all those commercials with the, chicken palm, you taste so good, and all that. He's good at all that stuff. I've seen enough of Peyton Manning now on the football field. He looks like an old elephant. The Denver defense is carrying him this year. Denver won when Peyton Manning, was out this year, was out of the lineup this year. They didn't miss him all that much. So I hope this is the end of Peyton Manning. I hope this is it, win or lose. And I think Cam Newton has been a good story this year, and I think the Panthers have been a great story this year. And I have no problem with Cam Newton scoring a touchdown and giving the kid a little ball. Like I said, I mean, I have a problem with guys who are down 35-0, who score a touchdown and they're doing a dance in the end zone. I mean, that I have a problem with. I have no problem with Carolina this year. They came to play each and every week. So I don't want to hear all these negative stories about Carolina and Cam Newton's the villain. Please stop. Enough already. Let's get to the game. I can't take any more. So that is the football. Hopefully we get a decent game. And by the way, the halftime show is, I think, Coldplay with Beyonce and Rihanna. That's another thing. They don't just have one act at the Super Bowl now. They have, multiple acts and people join in. And enough. Enough already. We get the picture. I mean, so I don't need the 45-minute halftime show either, but that's your halftime show. So hopefully we get it. By the way, there was also some rumblings that Peyton Manning was on HGH a few years ago. There was a story this week about Peyton Manning being on HGH. Imagine that. Imagine if it comes out that Peyton Manning, the poster boy for the NFL, was doing HGH. I mean, does it get any worse? I mean, who else is going to be on HGH? I mean, it's just everyone on some sort of steroid or supplement or HGH. Imagine if it comes out that Peyton Manning was on HGH. I mean, it just doesn't end. I mean, ridiculous. I mean, he denies the story, but who knows? They've all denied it. I saw Rafael Palmeiro in front of Congress waving his finger at Congress saying, he never did anything, and a month later, they found out he did. So who knows? You can't take anything, seriously with these stories. Who knows? You can take them with a grain of salt. A lot of them turn out to be true. Now, imagine that. Peyton Manning on HGH of all the guys. I mean, oh my goodness. So the Super Bowl, let's get it going already. I mean, come on. I just can't take any more of the hype. It's too much. As far as some other stuff, like I said, the NBA, Golden State is far and away the best team in the NBA right now. They're looking to break the Chicago Bulls all-time record. That's how well they're playing. I never thought that Bull record would be touched. Golden State has a chance to break that record. So Golden State is on another level. San Antonio is real good, but I don't know if they can beat Golden State. Same thing with Cleveland. I mean, I watched Golden State just pace Cleveland in Cleveland this year. I think Cleveland's going to be the team out of the East, but right now it's Golden State and everyone else. San Antonio and Cleveland I would put in that second rung. Other than that, I can't see anyone contending. I know the Raptors have had a good team, have had a good year. They're not going to win the NBA championship. The Bulls are always banged up. Forget the rest of the Eastern Conference. The West, I mean, come on, we're going to take the Clippers seriously. Now you got this whole Blake Griffin thing. I mean, who else in the West? I mean, there's a lot of good teams out there, but you can't see any of them winning the championship other than Golden State and maybe San Antonio. So that's the NBA. There was also a debate of who should coach the NBA All-Star team. Usually it's the teams with the best record, their coaches. I mean, Steve Kerr is back for Golden State now, but you can't have him. He missed most of this year because of the back surgery. He coached the team, I believe, last year, so they want someone new. So they don't have him, so they put Popovich, who had the second best record, in as the coach. To me, the coach should have been Walton. Walton, who filled in for Kerr. I mean, Walton, who didn't lose a game for like 2 months, have Walton as the coach. I mean, he filled in for the best team in the league, did a great job. Have Walton as the coach. I'm sure Popovich won't mind. He's been the coach a million times. So if you can't have Kerr, I don't want Popovich. Have Walton as the coach. As far as the East, it can't be Black because he was just fired by Cleveland, even though they have the best record in the East. So they make Lou, I believe, the coach who just took over. I mean, to me, have the Toronto coach as the coach. I mean, Toronto has the second best record in the East, and the game is in Toronto. So have the Toronto coach. I don't know why it's so difficult. I mean, I don't understand why they're having Popovich as one of the coaches. I don't get it in Lou. It just makes no sense to me. But the NBA All-Star Game is coming up. Like I said, Golden State and everyone else right now. NHL, like I said, we had their All-Star Game. That was unwatchable as well. So was the skills competition. And I love hockey. I love hockey more than most. I cannot get into that. There's a lot of good teams in the NHL this year. It is going to be a wild scramble to see who even makes the playoffs. There's going to be some good teams that don't make the playoffs. Montreal, who had the best record in hockey a few months ago, is not even in a playoff spot right now. The Capitals are absolutely rolling. There are some really good teams in the NHL. It should be a wild scramble just to see who gets into the playoffs. Then when we get to the playoffs, it should be madness. As far as the college basketball, as we're winding down, we're right around the corner is March Madness. The top 10 in college basketball, we'll go 10-1 right now. Michigan State is 10. Listen, Tom Izzo is a great tournament coach. In the end, Michigan State will be there. They always are. They might stumble and bumble in the regular season, but they come around during tournament time. Tom Izzo will have his team ready. Number 9 is Virginia. They built a really nice program there. They play really good defense. Amazing job Virginia's doing the last few years. Number 8, Texas A&M. How about Texas A&M? No longer just a football school. They have a really nice basketball team this year. If you haven't seen them, check them out. Number 7, Kansas. What else is new with them? They're in the top 10 every year. Have a lot of good players. Don't have one superstar. That may come back to bite them in the tournament. Number 6 is Xavier. Xavier is a solid team. They did get blown out by Villanova this year, but other than that, Xavier has played really good ball. Number 5 is Iowa. No team in the land has a better collection of wins than Iowa. Number 4 is Maryland. I've been on this team since the preseason. I said this is one of the teams I was going to pick for the Final Four in the preseason. I mean, and nothing has changed for me. Maryland is a very good team. Number 3, Villanova. Here we go again with them. Every year Jay Wright does it. He has his team back in the top 10 every year. I know Villanova had a tremendous year last year, was disappointed with the short run in the NCAA tournament. They lost in, I believe, the second round to NC State. So they're looking to do a little better this year, but again, a tremendous team. Jay Wright is a great coach. Number 2, North Carolina. They're one of the best teams in all of the land. I mean, they definitely have a shot to win it all. And number 1, Oklahoma. Same thing with them. Very good team. Best conference. Oklahoma is a really good team. There's a lot of good teams in college basketball. I don't know if we have one dominant team like we did last year with Kentucky. They ended up losing last year. But there's a lot of good teams this year in college basketball. Duke's having an off year this year. They're not in the top 25. Coach K missed a game yesterday because he was under the weather. So Duke is not having their usual year. But hey, they just won the national championship last year. We'll give them a break. So college basketball, we're coming down the home stretch. March Madness right around the corner. Now for my next rant. Listen, I get a lot of people that love tennis sending me messages saying, how come I don't talk about tennis more? How come I don't like tennis? I sat here 2 weeks ago and told you the Australian Open, you did not have to watch it. I knew who was going to win before the tournament even started. The top 3 seeds all made it to the semifinals. There was no drama. There was no drama in the finals. Tennis, to me, especially on the men's side. The women's side is slightly better, although Serena Williams, still at her advanced age, wins a lot and gets to the finals or semifinals just about all the time. And Serena Williams is getting up there and has a bad knee. Yes, she lost in the finals to Kerber. So the women's side is a little better. The men's side, I'm going to talk about the men's side here. This is the worst field of players in the history of men's tennis. And I'm sorry, I'll stand by that. Right now, this is the worst field of players in the history of men's tennis. Roger Federer is old. He's ancient for tennis, standards. He's, 35 years old? That's ancient for tennis. But because the field is so weak, Federer gets to the semifinals and the finals just about every tournament. Now, he can't win the tournament much anymore, but he at least gets to the semifinals and the finals because there's so many bad players that he can beat. Roger Federer is old. He's way past his prime. Nadal is shot. He's got major injuries to the knee, to the this. He's got a million injuries. He's shot. He's been shot for years. I don't know how they have him ranked in the top 10. He hasn't done anything in 2 years. He didn't even play for a year. So you take Federer out and you take Nadal out. Federer's old. Nadal's shot and injured. Novak is now winning because the other two are out. When Federer and Nadal were winning, Novak couldn't beat them. Now that those two are out of the way, now Novak is winning every tournament. There are no other players that even have a pulse. Andy Murray was a one-year wonder. He had one good year, which was like 3-4 years ago now, when he won Wimbledon, he won the U.S. Open, and he won the gold medal as well. That was all in 1 year. That was like 4 years ago. Since then, Andy Murray has done nothing. He changed coaches. He used to have Lindell as his coach. He changed coaches a couple times. Andy Murray has done nothing except lose in the finals at the Australian Open every year. Other than that, there is basically no one. Del Potro, who won the U.S. Open years and years ago, hasn't been seen since because he was injured. I mean, Wawrinka to me is a two-hit wonder. The only other one that's won anything the last few years has been Chilik, and that to me was a one-hit wonder. There is nobody else that has done anything in tennis. You look at the top 20 in men's tennis, and you got guys in the top 20, the top 10 that have never won anything. David Ferrer has been in the top 10 in tennis for years, has never won a major. Same thing with Tonga. And, the list goes on and on. You got so many of these players that haven't done anything that are in the top 10, top 20. Weakest field of players in the history of men's tennis. And this has been going on a while. I thought when Sampras played it was bad, when Sampras won every tournament, and when he didn't win, Agassi won. It has gotten worse. Then Federer used to win every tournament. Then Nadal used to win every tournament. Now those two guys have been pushed out. Now Novak wins every tournament. You did not have to watch one single thing of the Australian Open on the men's side to know who was going to win. The top 3 seeds all got to the semifinals, and these matches were not competitive. Not competitive. Straight sets, straight sets, straight sets. No drama, no 5-set throws. And the women's side up until the finals was just as bad. Serena Williams didn't lose a set up until the finals. She beat Sharapova again for the 100th straight time. What's with Sharapova? Sharapova can't beat Serena Williams once. Serena Williams is old and has a bad knee, and Sharapova can't beat her. Sharapova again lost in straight sets to Serena Williams, and in the second set lost 6-1. Didn't even put up a fight. And then the announcers, I happened to go by that match, and I saw Serena won the second set 6-1 and won the match. The announcers were telling me how great a match was, and they were so thrilled to be there, and both players were so competitive. How in the world could you say that that was a competitive match when Serena Williams won in 2 sets, and the last set was 6-1, and she beat Sharapova again for the 100th time? I mean, have standards dropped that low? These tennis people will fool you. They think this is the greatest era in the history of tennis. It's not. It's the worst field of players I have ever seen. They are gutless. None of them can play. They're all awful. You have one good player that wins every tournament, and this has been going on a while now. This has been going on for like 20 years. Sampras won every tournament. When he didn't win, it was Agassi. Then Federer won every tournament. Then Nadal came around. He won every tournament. Now that Nadal and Federer are out, now Novak wins every tournament. It is a complete joke. It's unwatchable. The Australian Open was unwatchable, not to mention it's on at 3 o'clock in the morning when you can't watch it anyway here in New York. I mean, and these announcers for tennis, they will fool you and tell you how great tennis is, and this is such a great time for tennis. Tennis is an unwatchable joke right now. There is nothing going on in tennis right now. The men's field is the worst in history, and I'll stand by that. And I know all the people that love tennis are going to be sending me messages and say, how could you say that? It's unwatchable. You did not have to watch a single second of the Australian Open on the men's side to know exactly what was going to happen. Novak, Federer, and Murray, the top 3 seeds, all made it to the semifinals. And Federer, because he's so old, he can get to a certain point but can't win the whole tournament. Murray, forget him, and once again it's Novak. Unwatchable stuff. So I can't take any more of tennis. I really can't. They need some new blood. Where are the young stars? Where are the young stars in tennis? Tell me, where are they? It used to be when you got to a certain age, like your upper 20s, you were starting to fade out in tennis, and like the young, 20-year-olds would come up and they knock you off. Now these tennis players can hang around till their mid-30s and still win. Serena Williams and Federer are 35 years old, but they're still winning. Where are the young stars? Where are they? Does anyone play tennis anymore around the world? I know no one plays in the United States on the men's side anymore. They're too busy doing other things. But no one plays tennis? There's no young stars out there? I mean, where are they? I mean, it's just unwatchable. So I can't take a single second of tennis anymore. Wake me up when there's some new blood in tennis and some drama in some of these matches, because the Australian Open, especially on the men's side, was unwatchable. Worst field of players in the history of men's tennis right now. And I don't care how many hate letters I get from all the tennis fans out there. And this has nothing to do with Australia. I love Australia. I love the people. It has nothing to do with that. Although I will say this. The Australian Open out of the 4 majors, to me, is the least prestigious. I would say Wimbledon's 1, US Open 2, French Open 3, and then Australia. And I have nothing against Australia. I love the people. I love Australia. It's a great place. But I'm sorry. Tennis right now, unwatchable. Worst field of players in the history of men's tennis. All right, so there you go. For all you tennis fans, I did talk about tennis, albeit in a negative fashion. All right, there you go. You guys are all set. You guys are all caught up. Did a little potpourri today, skipped around. Not much going on without football. February is a very, very slow month in the sports world. I mean, we're at the NHL All-Star break. You got the 2-week hype for the Super Bowl. NBA's coming up to their All-Star break. College basketball, you're still not in March Madness. This is a very, very slow month here. So I did a little potpourri today, did a few rants, but anyway, you guys are all caught up. You guys are all set. I will talk to you guys Monday, and we'll recap the Super Bowl. Thanks, as always, for your support. Stay happy, healthy, and safe. Pick the winner in the Super Bowl. Make a lot of money. Talk to you soon. Take care.